Hey, what's going on guys, it's Bagas here, and I'm excited because yes, we're actually doing it. Today, we're going to be doing a full review of Prehistoric Planet. Now, fun fact, as of right in this intro, I haven't actually watched the whole thing. I have only watched the first episode, then got really busy and didn't really have time to properly watch the rest, so this will be my first viewing of episode 2 and onwards. Anyways, let's begin the review. Prehistoric Planet is a 5-episode nature documentary series depicting the prehistoric animals from 66 million years ago. The episodes are themed around the different biomes on Earth, and we see several different animals with separate mini-stories for each. The documentary is also narrated by Sir David Attenborough. The first episode focuses on coastal areas, and it starts with a male T-Rex and his family crossing an inland sea to an island as the mosasaur hunts them. And I like how the hunt is mostly passive, which is more realistic, and the actual kill is just the mosasaur pulling the baby out of the water rather than it jumping out of the water. The Rex then enjoys some turtle flesh while the babies learn how to hunt. We then see the different nesting strategies of different pterosaur species, followed by the hatching and subsequent action scene of Alcyone hatchlings trying to reach the mainland while being chased by other pterosaur species. We then get introduced to a mother Tuarangisaurus and her calf as they consume pebbles, and the mother mates with a male. We then see a Hoffman's mosasaur hanging out in the reef, and I like how there's a fake out as we think the mosasaur is about to eat the tiny fish, when in reality he just wants to get clean and relax. Then a rival male appears out of nowhere, and we get a cool fight scene between the two. And also, I appreciate how none of them die, it makes it more realistic. We then witness a beautiful mating display from bioluminescent ammonites, and then we get back with the Tuarangisaurus with the mother seemingly distressed and a species of mosasaurus called Kaikaifilu. I think I pronounced that wrong. Anyways, it shows up before the pod chases it off. Kinda like how modern dolphins chase off great whites. The distress was apparently caused by the mother being pregnant, and the episode ends with her giving birth and her baby taking its first breath. I like how the episode is mostly relaxed with small bursts of action that just makes it really easy to watch. It's also just a really good episode to introduce the premise and set the feel for the rest of the series. Episode 2 depicts dinosaurs in the deserts and begins with a Dragonoctis mating gathering and a battle for dominance between two males. I like how the choreography is kind of like a combination between sumo and boxing, and you can really feel the impact of each hit and the weight of these massive sauropods. We then see a bunch of sleeping Tarbosaurus and Velociraptors hunting little lizards around them. Soon after, we see the Mononychus scene where it hunts termites inside a log. Then the rains briefly come and the Mononychus tries to hunt the new prey that comes with it. We then see several different species of dinosaurs trekking around an oasis, including a Tarbosaurus, and it honestly reminds me a lot of the watering hole episode from Dinosaur Revolution. We then see the mating grounds of Barbarodactylus, which happens to be atop a plateau, and we see an aerial dogfight between two large males. In a hilarious turn of events, one large male mistakes a sneaky smaller male for a female, and it ends up being the smaller sneak who gets to mate. The final part shows the most extreme of desert conditions with a herd of Cicinosaurus migrating through the harsh environment and actually using stars to navigate, which is a really cool concept that I never considered before. And after passing several dunes, they reach their destination in the coast. This final sequence reminds me a lot of Disney's Dinosaur, and I also do like how it subtly connects the previous episode as well. This episode as a whole had a much slower pace than the first, with very little action, and it instead focuses more on the environment and the conditions of the desert. And you know what? I actually quite like how they're varying it up on what they cover, and so it's not the same thing over and over again. The third episode depicts freshwater environments and starts with velociraptors hunting pterosaurs on the ledges of a canyon before transitioning to North America, where a battle-scarred old male T-Rex cleans his new Triceratops inflicted wound, encountering a female with whom he mates with after a brief mating ritual. We then see a Deinonychus eating water plants and having a good back scratch, a Quetzalcoatlus laying and defending her eggs, and a Masaicosaurus, I think I pronounced that wrong, family feeding on crabs only for one of the young to be eaten by a Beetle Buffalo. The last part sees a bunch of Elasmosaurus traveling through the brackish water to feast on the abundance of fish. This episode employs a much faster pace, and again, I enjoy the change in pace. Also, if there's one word that I can use to kind of sum up this episode, it would probably be majestic. Like, I don't know, it just has that kind of majestic feel throughout it. The penultimate episode begins with the arrival of spring and some dromaeosaurs hunting hadrosaurs trying to cross the river. I do like how the strategy is not directly attacking, but rather just causing chaos and letting the river do the killing. We then see an ornithomime nesting ground and a comical scene of one male stealing nesting materials from his neighbors and trying not to get caught. Soon after, we see a herd of Aurora Titan nesting in a volcanic land before the babies eventually hatch, but then in the plentiful summer conditions cause the herd to be swarmed by mosquitoes and eventually have to leave the place. These conditions also cause lightning storms, which then cause forest fires, and we observe how a certain dinosaur, a troodontid, uses this as an opportunity to get a meal, and also perform pyrotechnics. As the transition to autumn comes, we see young Antarcticopelta traveling through the forest to their winter den, but they don't all fit, so one has to go explore the region and eventually finds a cave where the ceiling glows due to bioluminescent lures of the fungus gnat larvae, and it's honestly a really cool sight to behold. The final segment sees a hunt between Nanoxaurus and Pachyrhinosaurus, and it really does remind me of wolves hunting bison in Yellowstone. I also do really like how the hunt is kind of structured in 3 acts. Like in the first act, we get introduced to the players and the hunt begins. Then the turning point arrives in the second act when a blizzard appears, and when it ends, the hunt resumes, and one old male lags behind, and we see the final battle in the third act. I do like how this episode takes us through all the 4 seasons so that we can kind of see the different conditions with each one and how the dinosaurs uniquely adapt to it. The final episode starts with a herd of Austroposeidon traveling through the forest, toppling trees along the way to get to the leaves. We then see a herd of Triceratops journey through a cave to find an antidote for the poisonous plants they eat, which happens to be in the form of special clay. However, a calf gets separated from the herd, but thankfully he manages to not go the wrong way and actually finds the herd again. Now, this sequence is great for building suspense, but the only thing I would change about it is that I would probably focus more on the calf to build tension alongside suspense, but it's still a pretty good sequence on itself. We then witness a Carnotaurus dancing to impress a female, and as hilarious as this sequence is, it is like genuinely fascinating as well. And we finally found a use for those arms. But for some reason the female rejects him. And honestly, I don't get it either. I mean, how could you say no after that beautiful display? We then see a bunch of Corythoraptors eating fallen nuts, but they are stalked by a female Changosaurus. However, she is unsuccessful in catching them. She tries again, however, and this time under the cover of a storm, she succeeds. A fire ensues in the North American forest, and in the aftermath, we see an Atrociraptor eating the returning insects and using the smoke as insecticide, an Ankylosaurus eating charcoal, and a family of Edmontosaurus leaving the forest for new lands. At night in Central Asia, fungi start to glow, and baby Therizinosaurs adorably try and fail to climb a fallen tree to get to a beehive, only to be continuously stung once they do succeed. However, an adult shows up and just whacks the hive right out of the tree, and everyone enjoys a bit of honey. We then see baby Zalmoxi scurrying around the forest floor, avoiding predators like Hatzicopteryx, and we then head to the beach where the forest residents enjoy some salty plants. The final shot of the series shows the giant pterosaur taking off and flying through the sunset, and honestly, it's kind of bittersweet knowing that the series is over, but it is also a happy reminder of the beautiful journey we've been on. After the huge build-up and hype this series got, I'm happy to say that it does not disappoint. First, let's talk about the most obvious thing, the visuals. This show looks amazing. It's kinda crazy how photorealistic the CGI is. Like, this is big budget Hollywood movie levels of CGI, and it's pretty much lifelike. And there's also a lot of breathtaking shots of the environments as well. Also, aside from the insane photorealism, the dinosaurs themselves look great in general. The designs are really good and probably the most accurate I've seen in any documentary. I think I can say without a doubt that Prehistoric Planet is a visual masterpiece, and I doubt you can make much of an argument to suggest otherwise. The content of the episodes are also just really good and diverse. They show a lot of unique stuff that I've never seen explored within a documentary, and unlike many other dinosaur documentaries, they also take the time to explore the actual environment the dinosaurs live in. I do also agree with the decision to theme each episode with the environment the dinosaurs live in, so that they could focus on several different places while still making the whole episode feel cohesive. Also, while the dinosaur segments don't necessarily have a full-on narrative, I do like how it's formatted like a traditional nature documentary, and we just get to see these animals living in their daily lives. It's hands down the best example of the showcase approach I've seen so far. Each episode also feels very distinct from each other, and they manage to do this not only through the different environments, but also they play around with things like the pacing that further distinguishes each one and makes them feel unique. This is further complemented by the beautiful Hans Zimmer score that just makes each episode feel grand, and in fact, each shot feel very grand. Also, I gotta bring it up again, but it does not focus on violence, and I'm so happy because it allows us to see these dinosaurs in more unique and interesting scenarios, and also just allows the audience to sit back and enjoy the spectacle. Honestly, I don't really have much else to say. It sticks to the core fundamentals of a great nature documentary and just applied it to the prehistoric setting. And it, of course, excels in the visual department. Like, it's genuinely a good show, and that's just probably the best phrase I could use to describe it. There's not a lot of obvious flaws I can criticize like other dinosaur documentaries, and it really is just really great overall. If you haven't watched it for whatever reason, watch it right now on Apple TV Plus because it truly is one of the best dinosaur documentaries ever created. Alright, tier list time. I'm gonna try and make this quick, although it probably won't be quick. Anyways, quality wise, I give it a 4.9. Obviously, Prehistoric Planet is a visual masterpiece. Everything from the CGI to the designs to the just overall visual look of the show. There's no like argument that it's a visual masterpiece. It's a visual masterpiece. And the other thing is that it also has very unique and interesting content within the episodes, and they managed to make each episode very distinct from each other, whether it's through pacing or just obviously the environment. But the episodes all have like a different feel to them, and this is further backed up by the incredible Hans Zimmer score, and accompanied with that is also the breathtaking shots of the environments. Like I'm telling you, when you watch it, you're just gonna be in awe of some of the shots, and it's just a really good all-around documentary. Like it's just really solid all around. And really, the only reason I'm not giving it a 5 is because I want to imply that it's flawless, because obviously no piece of media is flawless, and I'm sure if you search hard enough you'll find some faults, and in fact I think there are obviously some regarding to the science and the educational aspect of it. So it's not flawless, but I think it's really good. And you know what, as a series, it doesn't really have a story to it, which is what I usually prioritize in a documentary, or at least I prefer if there's a story. But I gotta say, the showcase route, it's probably the best version of it, so I'll give it a pass on that. Entertainment wise, I give it a 4.9. I don't think it's as entertaining as something like Prehistoric Park or Chased by Sea Monsters, just because those are kind of tailor made to be purely entertainment. But the dinosaur scenes are still really fun to watch, and there's also just a lot more unique approaches to entertainment rather than full-on action. And even then, the action scenes are more fun and unique, and I know they're very creative in a way. They're not just like big brawls. They actually have some unique stuff to it. And also, like, speaking of uniqueness, actually, each episode, the fact that every episode feels very unique and distinct from each other, means that you have kind of different episodes appeal to different people. Like, say, the first episode is kind of, mostly calm with short bursts of action. It could appeal to those people. Then, second episode is a lot more calm, and third episode is a lot faster paced, and so on and so forth. And so those distinctions can kind of appeal to different people, so you can watch whether you prefer slow pace or fast pace. Watchability wise, I give it a 4.6 because unless DVD copies or something like that gets released, it is locked behind a subscription based paywall, which means obviously you have to pay it monthly basically. But honestly, it's not really that expensive, and it's a good price to pay to watch such a great show. It's just kind of unfortunate that Apple TV Plus doesn't really have anything else. Like, it doesn't really have the wide range of content that something like Curiosity Stream or something. And the other thing, I guess, is that it's 5 episodes long, each like roughly 40 minutes. So that totals up to about 3 hours and 20 minutes, which granted is like only like 20 minutes more than One Would Nurses, but still, it's a long time. So if you want to marathon it, you're probably gonna have to allocate a certain amount of time. But To be fair though, this is kind of counterbalanced by the fact that since each episode feels very distinct from each other, you can kind of just watch them individually without wanting to watch the whole thing. It's not like a continuous. It's kind of an anthology, really, when you really think about it. So like you can just watch one episode and then like on a later date you can watch the other episode. So it's not like I don't know, if you even if you only watch one episode, it's still gonna feel complete. And just also the relaxing feel of most of the episodes make it just really easy to ease into on rewatches and just sit back and enjoy Prehistoric Planet. And as for my personal opinion, I give it a 4.9. I absolutely love this series, and what obviously it's not highest because I don't think it's on the same level as Chase Facing Monsters or Prehistoric Park, just because Prehistoric Park has the nostalgia factor, and Chased by Sea Monsters is the one that I find most enjoyable and most easy to watch, and also is the one I watched the most. But this one is also kind of special because this was like the first documentary that I was actually a part of the build-up. I watched the trailers get released. I made videos on it. So being part of that build-up is also kind of made it very special for me, and that gives it a total score of 19.2, putting it, I think we can all agree, in the top of S tier. It is the new highest ranked documentary on my tier list. Oh god. Whew. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That whole recording session really took the wind out of me. Holy crap, I might have to re-record some bits, but I'm not doing that right now. Whew, yeah, anyways, watching the actual show, was a very enjoyable experience, and, I'm actually glad I kind of saved it, well, not saved it, I kind of didn't watch it beforehand, before actually, I started to write this, review, because then, I can go into it with a fully analytical mind. And so, on rewatches, I can just sit back and enjoy it, so, um, and you know what? I really do hope that we get a season 2 of Prehistoric Planet, or at least more documentaries similar to Prehistoric Planet. And so, if you guys want to watch Prehistoric Planet for yourselves, like if you haven't already watched it, of course, get the free trial. It's free for 7 days, and if you want, after you've watched the whole series, you can just cancel it. Or if you want to actually do rewatches after like the first week, then it's not that expensive. It's not that much money for such a good show. The only thing is, it's just kind of a shame that nothing else on Apple TV Plus is really worth watching, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm gonna rest my voice after this, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.